Those who've been following Anthem news will know that the latest controversy the game's facing right now has to do with its latest update. For a second time, Bioware accidentally flipped a switch that bolstered the loot drop rates of coveted masterwork and legendary gear. For a second time, people were actually having fun with the game. And for a second time, Bioware flipped the switch off to the dismay of players. The result? Well, it looks like even the most loyal and hardcore Anthem players have had enough, with one of the most popular posts on the Anthem subreddit over the last few days being a call for protest. More specifically, Reddit user Afinda proposed that players boycott the game for a week, from March 11th to March 15th, 2019, in order to send a message to Bioware and make the point that players are sick and tired of the stingy loot system that's currently in place and that they want to see the so-called bug that buffed loot drop rates return. The post reads as follows: "You're pissed? You want to make a point once and for all? Well, what could hurt a game that has real money transactions for cosmetics? LOL, yeah, there are nearly none I know. Or is a live service more than anything? Player numbers. Get your point across, simple as that. Stop playing the game for a whole week, hopefully with the support of the entire subreddit, to show Bioware that all it would take for us to really enjoy the game is to receive loot, to receive the chance at that 1.00001% god roll or anything to take us further towards Grandmaster 3. Time invested versus reward is a complete joke at this point. Getting gold and platinum thrown at you for just stating that is more than enough to prove that point. But are you willing to stick to your beliefs? Prove it. Drop the game completely dead for a week and we'll see. Shit like that won't go unnoticed by investors nor the developers, Bioware themselves." So one good point that this Reddit user makes is that many AAA games these days, or live services as they like to be known, rely on long-term concurrent player numbers, not just on the number of copies sold. After all, these live services are intended to be monetized throughout the course of months and years, and they are reliant on players coming back every day for the possibility that during one of their play sessions, they'll be enticed into shelling out cash for microtransactions. So it's not enough to just sell a couple million copies, it's not enough that they've already got your money. These live services have to hold on to as many players who bought the game as possible and entice them to keep spending. This is what publishers like to call engagement, a term that's become stigmatized over the years due to how companies often sacrifice fun to prioritize engagement by stretching out content and grind to artificially lengthen a game's lifespan, even if it means spreading the experience thin. As far as Anthem goes, with how lackluster the current selection of cosmetic items is, I do not get the sense that the game has been profiting much from its microtransactions, but it would be especially bad for the game's financial prospects and long-term viability if its most loyal and hardcore players just up and left. Because engagement has become so important for high-budget live services like Anthem, an organized boycott could actually make a dent. It could make Bioware and EA pay attention. It may very well force their hand in some way. Now, whether this organized boycott yields any tangible results and whether it proves effective will depend on how many players actually partake in solidarity, which is hard to say at this point. This Reddit post that started the organized boycott has gained a lot of traction though, having garnered a whopping 12,600 upvotes over the course of 2 days. On top of all that, a bunch of news outlets have picked up this story, each with their own takes on the matter, and various prominent YouTubers have started posting videos about this as well. At the very least, there is no denying that word about this protest is spreading, though whether it catches on to the extent that active players will drop significantly enough that Bioware will be spooked into finally caving into their community's demands remains to be seen. Do keep in mind, however, that the Anthem subreddit is likely comprised of only a small segment of the game's total player base. It's a very important small segment of the community, but there are likely plenty of players out there who don't go around checking Reddit and keeping up with news about the game, or just simply don't care enough about all the controversy surrounding Anthem to participate in a boycott. Then again, given the state the game launched in, I would be surprised if many of the more casual players haven't dropped this game by now out of sheer boredom. I feel like most players will have completed the campaign, played the endgame for a bit, realized how shallow, repetitive, grindy, and unrewarding it currently is, and moved on to greener pastures. So perhaps there is really no need to appeal to players outside of the Anthem subreddit into boycotting. It's very possible that the game's inadequate launch state already took care of that. I know I have inadvertently been doing my part. I haven't logged into Anthem for a while now because the endgame experience was so devoid of fun and variety, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who has contributed in such a way. It could very well be that only the most hardcore of BioWare fans and Anthem players are clinging on to this game with the hope that it will flourish into something amazing despite a rough launch month, logging in when they can to show their support. And if this is indeed the case, then losing this crowd could spell genuine trouble for Anthem. Regardless of how this organized boycott turns out, regardless of how much of a threat it really poses, what I will say is the fact that such a post like this even exists, the fact that so many people have upvoted it, the fact that it's drawn so much attention speaks volumes about how dire the current situation is for Anthem. There is a lot that's already been said about the game's dull story and characters, its underwhelming campaign, its lifeless open world and hub, its drab progression and reward system, its baffling design choices, the laundry list of persistent bugs and technical issues, the lies and downgrades from its misleading marketing campaign, etc. But nothing is more detrimental to a game like Anthem than a stingy loot system that sucks the life out of the endgame, the thing that's supposed to keep players engaged for months and years to come, which is why it's so baffling that when players finally felt like they were having fun with Anthem, even if it was the unintended result of a bug, BioWare was so swift about taking that away, a swiftness that is uncharacteristic of a studio that's left plenty of other, far more pressing bugs, glitches, and issues lingering since launch. While the fun loot bug didn't fix all of the game's problems, it certainly went a long way in revitalizing what currently feels like a slowly decaying product. The biggest problem with the game right now is that the rate at which players earn masterwork and legendary gear, the game's most coveted high-level items, is way too slow. This is further compounded by how when you do earn one of these, there are random rolls for statistical enhancements involved, and most of the time the rolls are useless. Most masterworks and legendaries players earn will end up getting scrapped because their rolls will not contribute to the endgame goal of min-maxing their various javelins. Making matters worse is the lack of compelling variety of activities players can partake to earn them. The endgame essentially bogs down to repeating Tyrant Mine over and over and over again, and it's just a monotonous affair. We are basically looking at the perfect concoction of ingredients that completely kill endgame incentive. As the game currently stands, when you painstakingly tackle the same strongholds and legendary contracts over and over again at the highest difficulty, you only ever earn maybe 1 or 2 masterworks at a time, with legendary drops being extremely rare. Free play is equally stingy with its handouts, with one user having noted that after playing 15 hours of free play in Grandmaster 3 difficulty, they only managed to get 7 masterworks with useless rolls and 0 legendaries, which is very little reward for the amount of work and effort put in. It's not even worth playing the game at higher difficulties beyond Grandmaster 1 currently, since the loot drop rate of masterworks and legendaries do not scale proportionally to the huge difficulty jump that comes with Grandmaster 2 and 3. Mitigating all this was the so-called bug that accidentally buffed the number of masterworks and legendaries that drop with the completion of the game's handful of activities. Strongholds all of a sudden awarded anywhere between 5 to 10 masterworks at a time, and the occasional 1 or 2 legendaries. Legendary contracts awarded 4 to 5 masterworks with the occasional legendary, and 1 hour of high difficulty free play would yield similar rewards. What this meant was that players got more chances to roll the dice for masterworks and legendaries with desired stats. Some have argued that handing out so many masterworks and legendaries at a time could break the game, but this is hardly the case given most rolls are useless, so most gear end up getting scrapped anyway. But the chase becomes way more fun when each run of an arduous activity offer players more than 1 or 2 rolls, when each run reasonably offers more chances and more opportunities to get the once-in-a-blue-moon masterwork or legendary with awesome stats that will contribute towards min-maxing javelins, when each run offers the tangible possibility of progression, when each run doesn't feel like a huge waste of time. It's exactly the kind of adrenaline injection that the game needed given the compromised state it launched in. And yet, BioWare refuses to let players have this, because God forbid players are having fun instead of being laboriously engaged. The only explanation I can think for why Bioware is so insistent on patching out the fun loot bug is that they know Anthem has so little content that if players get more chances to roll Masterworks and Legendaries with ideal stats, they might end up min-maxing their javelins and have seen everything the game has to offer before the studios had a chance to release new content, so they're choosing to artificially drag out the experience instead. Bioware could at least meet players halfway, maybe have Strongholds yield 5 Masterworks instead of 10, find some kind of middle ground between the current stingy drop rates and the bugged fun drop rates. Or hell, given Anthem is in desperate need of positivity, they could just let the faucet run, let it rain loot, and let players have their fun. Ask yourself this, Bioware, would you rather people leave your game happy with the likelihood they will return once new content is added, or would you rather they leave disillusioned with the likelihood they'll never return even once major content updates start arriving? Would you rather players take a break until the game offers more to do, or would you rather open yourself up to the possibility that, for some players, that week-long boycott might turn into a permanent one, especially with new competitors like Division 2 entering the fray? Bioware's head of live service, Chad Robertson, did provide a boilerplate response to all this, but the disconcerting part there was that he said it could take months before significant changes are made to loot, time that Anthem does not have in its current state. We are only a month into the game's lifespan, and a big portion of the Anthem community, comprised of the game's most ardent defenders at that, are threatening to boycott. Time is of the essence here. Right now, Bioware needs an expedient short-term solution before they can think long-term. And what better solution than to flip that switch back on, to let the bug become a feature, to patch the fun back in, to buy some time. Give players who are trying so hard to love your game something to help ride out what's been a disastrous first few launch months. These are one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on the Anthem subreddit's organized boycott in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. To be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.